Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is going to be another one of my Murder Minute true crime videos. So let me start off this video with a trigger warning. This video is going to contain discussion of a murder. This video is also going to contain discussions of sexual violence, physical violence, and things of that nature. So if any of these things are triggering or disturbing to you, you might as well go ahead and click off this video and tune into other content on this channel. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with this video because I have quite a few of these already planned out. So I'm going to try to shoot a few of these tonight and get them ready for posting. So this video is going to be in reference to Sylvia Likens. Sylvia Likens was a 16-year-old girl. She was left in the care of a friendly neighbor. That neighbor was Gertrude, I don't want to butcher this last name, but it's Gertrude Baniszewski, or Baniszewski. I don't know. I'm going to refer to her as Gertrude throughout this video. Likens was abused, tortured, and killed. Gertrude was born in 1929. She was the third out of 6 children, and she was born into a poor family. She witnessed her father suffer a fatal heart attack at the age of 10, and at 16 she dropped out of high school. She married a man named John who was 18. Together they had 6 kids. John beat and abused Gertrude. Gertrude escaped from John and married a man named Dennis, thinking that her life was going to be great. Well, she had another son with Dennis, and Dennis also abused Gertrude. So she went from one abusive situation to the next. Gertrude was depressed and angry. She looked underweight and haggard. She was short on money, so to make ends meet, she would take in children in the neighborhood while their parents were out of town. Now you gotta think, this was in a time where people were very trusting of their neighbors. A lot of times people would, you know, if you got in trouble down the street, your neighbor would whoop you, and then when you got home, your parents would whoop you. That's just kind of the way the times were. This would be the time when Gertrude met the Likens. Lester and Betty Likens were carnival workers, and they had 2 daughters. They were generally low on money and low on steady work because they were carnival workers. You know, it's kind of a seasonal job. In 1965, the Likens were offered a job, but they had one problem: what to do with their daughters. That was also complicated by the fact that one of their daughters had a disability. So the Likens had 2 daughters, Sylvia, who was 16, and Jenny, who was 15. Sylvia was healthy, but Jenny had polio, which left her permanently disabled. Gertrude had 7 kids and seemed to be honest, so the Likens asked Gertrude if she would watch their kids. And at first, Gertrude was kind of hesitant given Jenny's issues, but they made a deal. For $20 a week, they would feed and house the girls while the Likens were traveling with the carnival for their job. Pretty soon into this, Gertrude's issues appeared. She became depressed, and her temper was apparent very early on. So the girls went hungry most days. In the morning, they were given a few slices of toast. There was nothing for lunch, and at dinner, there was a small bowl of soup. At the end of the first week, Gertrude dragged the girls to an empty room and beat them. No reason given, just a beat you. She screamed at the girls that she was taking care of them for nothing, And even though Gertrude was being paid, she resented the girl's presence. Okay, guys, so if the money failed to come on time, the beatings would intensify. Gertrude's hands began to hurt from beating on the girls, so she started taking a wooden board and she beat Sylvia so bad. Like, she would make Sylvia strip so that she was beating her on her bare bottom. She beat Sylvia so bad on her bare bottom with this board that she left scars. Sylvia did bear the brunt of Gertrude's wrath. And she would make Jenny watch. So Jenny, here being disabled, she couldn't defend her sister, and she was forced to watch what happened to her sister. And Gertrude even started involving her children and other children in the neighborhood in the abuse of Sylvia. At one point, Gertrude kicked Sylvia in the genitals because Sylvia had admitted to having a boyfriend, and she called her a prostitute and accused her of being pregnant for having a boyfriend. She was 16 years old. And let's harken back to how old was Gertrude when she dropped out of high school and got married and started having children. It's a bit hypocritical there, don't you think there, Gertie? Just saying. So Gertrude's children pushed Sylvia down the stairs one day, and Gertrude laughed. So Gertrude's children repeated it again and again to make Gertrude happy. Seems like a sadistic ass family to me. So the children also decided one day to take a hot dog and load it up with a bunch of condiments and force feed it to Sylvia. And it made Sylvia throw up. Then they made Sylvia eat her vomit. That's just award-winning family here. Kudos to you people. During some of her beatings, Gertrude would deliver sermons about the dangers of prostitution to Sylvia because, you know, here's Miss Morality over here. And Gertrude also encouraged her children to stub out cigarettes on Sylvia's skin. One of Gertrude's children, by the name of Paula, was enthusiastic in beating Sylvia, and she was so enthusiastic that she broke her hand while beating Sylvia. So then she had to go get her hand casted, and then took that casted hand and continued to beat Sylvia with it. I mean, these people are like top notch of like wonderful people, don't you think? I mean, this poor girl has done nothing but needed some place to stay while her parents are going to work. And she is being beaten for nothing. She has done nothing. So Gertrude's kids started recruiting people to come over and beat Sylvia. And here are some of the things that they did. They forced her to drink urine, eat feces. They used her as a dummy so that they could practice judo. They cut her hands and arms, and they burned her with cigarettes. I mean, this is starting to sound like an award-winning town here. Where's this at again? This is someplace in Indiana. I mean, this is just, I want to move there, don't you? They forced Sylvia to strip naked in the living room and inserted a glass Coke bottle into her vagina. And then they forced Jenny to take part in beating her sister and told her that if she refused to do so, she would suffer the same fate as Sylvia. So, poor Jenny here, disabled Jenny with polio, is forced to beat her own sister. These people should be locked away and never allowed to see the light of day ever, ever, ever again, and should never, ever reproduce. Sylvia's beatings became so bad that she became incontinent. The other children would deny her access to the bathroom, and she would end up wetting herself, which Gertrude used as a sign that she was a whore and beat her for. So, vicious cycle there. Gertrude then decided that because of this sign, she would take her out of school. Now, at this point, I'm wondering, what is this school doing that they're not seeing any of these signs in Sylvia? But I digress. So, Gertrude took Sylvia out of school and locked her in the basement. And Gertrude and her children would drag Sylvia out of the basement just to beat her. So they dragged her into a bathroom, put her in the tub, burned her with scalding hot water, and then Gertrude took and rubbed salt on the raw flesh. I mean, this woman is just sick. Sylvia was locked in the basement, naked and hungry. And Sylvia would drag her up and make her dance for the children. And if she struggled, and it was obvious that she would beat her. And if she wasn't beaten, they had a whole nother little special thing for her. If she wasn't beaten, then she was forced to eat the contents of a baby's diaper. These are just top-notch people here. Top-notch people here. So then Gertrude got a money-making scheme involved. She would charge kids in the neighborhood 5 cents to come and beat Sylvia. And they would do things like burn her, slap her, cut her, and mutilate her body for 5 cents a pop. And during all of this, Sylvia would scream and she would beg for help. But of course, no help would ever come because she's in Gertrude's care. So Sylvia was stuck. And there was nothing that Jenny could do because Jenny had already been told if she tells anybody at school what's going on, she would have the same fate as Sylvia. At one point, a public health nurse showed up to the home to assess the situation, and Gertrude said that Sylvia had ran away. They believed her. Meanwhile, Sylvia's in the fucking basement, naked and hungry and beaten half to death, but they have no way of knowing. Sylvia was so dehydrated, a doctor would later claim that she could no longer produce tears. Highly possible, considering the degree at which they were battering and abusing this poor girl. I said, October had gotten worse, and so Sylvia was allowed to spend one night with Jenny. And all they had in this room was just a mattress on the floor. And Sylvia had begged Jenny for a glass of water. So Jenny had gotten Sylvia a glass of water. And due to all of these beatings and her incontinence, Sylvia wet the bed. And Gertrude went nuts. She dragged her in front of the family and made Sylvia masturbate with a glass Coke bottle. And Gertrude was still pissed. So she took a needle and heated it up and started scratching into Gertrude's stomach. Not into Gertrude's stomach, it's Sylvia's stomach. I'm a prostitute and proud of it. She got halfway through it, and there was a neighborhood kid there by the name of Richard, and made him finish it. Then she threw Sylvia back in the basement. The next day, Gertrude goes down to Sylvia in the basement and dictates a letter to her and makes Sylvia write it out, explaining that she ran away. Gertrude had made up her mind that she was done fucking with Sylvia. So she was going to take this letter that she made Sylvia write out. She was going to take Sylvia out into the woods and leave her for dead. And then if the police came or Sylvia's parents came, she was just going to present that letter like, look, this little whore ran away. I don't know. She ran away. And wash her hands of the situation. So Sylvia figured out where Gertrude's plan was and was actually going to run away. But she was so weak and she was so injured from everything that she had endured that Gertrude caught her. And Gertrude and her husband beat her till she was barely able to comprehend anything. Like, they beat her almost to death. Sylvia tried to climb out of the basement one more time, and Gertrude caught her and stood on Sylvia's head with both of her feet, and it caused Sylvia's brain to hemorrhage, and Sylvia died. And Gertrude, being the just wonderful, perfect person that she is, thought Sylvia was faking it. But then, when she realized that she wasn't, she instructed the children to call the police. And this is when it gets even better, because when the police showed up, Gertrude presents them with this letter that Sylvia wrote and was like, she ran away with a group of boys and they must have tortured her and dumped her into our basement. And the children mimicked the same story. And the police were buying this until poor little disabled Jenny comes hobbling up to an officer and she whispers, "Get me out of here and I will tell you everything." The officers were shaken by this, so they took Jenny with them, and she told them the whole sordid, fucked up story. The whole family went to jail. The whole family went to trial, and the judge stated that it was the most terrible crime ever committed in Indiana. Gertrude's only defense was, I had to teach that girl a lesson. I had to teach that girl a lesson of what? Of don't need a place to stay while your parents are trying to work and support the family? That's the lesson that girl needed? The judge handed out harsh sentences to the entire family. I wasn't able to find out exactly what those sentences were, but this case happened in 1965. Pretty sure the whole family got pretty stiff, if not life sentences, for this torturous crime that ended in this poor girl's death. But that is the story of Sylvia Likens. Poor girl was 16 years old, and no evidence to show any reason why she was tortured or any reason why this woman just snapped and lost her shit and pretty much tortured this girl for weeks and months, and then murdered her for no reason, and then had her children in the neighborhood torturing this girl for no reason. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't, go ahead and subscribe. I know that I'm posting at least one of these a week. I might be doing more than one a week. But leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the content, or if you have a case that you want me to look into to add to this series. Like I said, I've got a couple of more that I'm going to try to film tonight and get those up. If you don't want to leave a comment down below, you can look in the description box. That's also down there somewhere. And find my Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Also, my email's down there. So if you have a lot of details on a case and you want to send them directly to me, you could do that through my email. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for now. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.